Are you thinking of getting an EV SUV in the luxury class from the likes of Mercedes, BMW, or perhaps a Tesla Model X, but the six-figure price tag is putting you off and giving you pause? Why not think about the Cadillac Lyriq? Its sticker price is about $40,000 cheaper, and you don't have any compromises on space, quality, or luxury features.
Here's the sticker for the car. You can see the base price is $58,795. We've got some options on it, including 22-inch alloyed wheels and a destination charge of $1,200, bringing the total vehicle price to $62,155. The debut edition is what's known as a luxury trim, and that comes standard with several options, of which I'm going to call out a few. Self-sealing tires, a cargo area cover, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is pretty sweet. And I'll also like to point out that the vehicle was assembled in the Springhill, Tennessee assembly plant. The battery pack was made at the Ultium Cells factory in Warren, Ohio. So the car is eligible for the $7,500 federal tax credit. Although not unique to the Lyriq, it's also available in multiple other GM vehicles. The car does come with Super Cruise, and I think it's worth mentioning. It's a really sophisticated adaptive cruise control that will also change lanes for you as you're going down predetermined LiDAR mapped corridors. And there are certain specifications about which ones qualify and which ones don't. First off, if you wanted to change lanes because a slow vehicle is in front of you, it looks like this. You can see we've successfully changed lanes without even touching the steering wheel. Pretty slick. Or if you want to change lanes and actually use the turn signal, you could turn on the turn signal and Super Cruise will change lanes for you. Again, pretty slick.
With the Tesla Model 3, one of the things that Tesla owners will commonly complain of is something called phantom braking. In the adaptive cruise control in the Model 3, we didn't have full self-driving, but we had adaptive cruise control. It works good, but boy, this Super Cruise is just all hands off. They LiDAR map certain common corridors, and once it takes over, it'll change lanes for you. And it'll just keep going. You don't have to keep touching the steering wheel or anything. It's got a little IR camera that's looking at your face, making sure you're looking at the road. Like right now, there's a cluster of cars coming, and Super Cruise is moving me over to the next lane without me doing anything. No intervention whatsoever. This thing is awesome. Really impressed. Here's the main instrument cluster set in energy mode on the Cadillac Lyriq. Provides how many kilowatts you're currently either generating as a result of a regen braking going down a hill or consuming as you're going uphill. Also how many estimated miles you have. One thing I've noticed with the Lyriq having heated seats and cooled seats, you can turn off the environment, and I'm finding myself very comfortable just using the seat temperature controllers instead of using the cabin environment, which is a big boost to efficiency.
For charging, the Lyriq is one of the few cars that can do 19.2 kilowatts for AC charging. It could also do 190 kilowatts for DC charging. For practical purposes, the Lyriq is a very large vehicle, bigger than the Model Y or Model X, but because of the cargo capacity limitations as a result of not having a frunk, it loses out on numbers a little bit, but it is very large on the inside. Plenty of space. It also has a sub-trunk. You can see we've got that grocery bag that we added to it. It has a 12-volt outlet in the back, and also has one in the front underneath the armrest, which I could use for a cooler. The back seat also has something similar, but instead of it being a 12-volt outlet, it's actually a full NEMA 110 outlet, which is pretty slick.
Okay, what we see here on the instrument display is a bunch of bars going across, and what that's actually representing is the state of charge. So before you turn on the vehicle, when you get into the vehicle, you actually have a large representation of the state of charge. Put your foot on the brake, press the start button, the car starts up. Now let's just give it a quick once over. Over here are heated seats and cooled seats for the driver. This button here, you have to actually press it pretty deep. Will turn on the massage feature. Let me press it. I'll show you what you mean. It's kind of like a double click. And then the screen turns on the massage. I'm going to turn it. Roll at 3. And so right now the massage feature is happening on the driver's side. There's also seat controls. You can see the ambient lights. If you want to fold the mirrors, you press this button right here, and that gives you a little extra space in a garage or at a car wash. There's the steering wheel. This turns on the cruise control. This turns on Super Cruise. You'll know because there will be a Super Cruise light on the instrument panel, which is currently missing. I'm sorry, this turns on cruise control. This here will adjust how many car lengths are between you, and if you just want to set the cruise control, you press this down like that, and if you press it really hard, it'll minus by 5. If you press it once, it'll minus by 1. If you press it up hard like that, it'll increase by 5 miles an hour. If you press it up lightly, it'll increase by 1 mile an hour. Also, phone controls. I'm not going to go over how to use this because it's really hard to describe verbally. Once you use it though, you'll see it's very intuitive. This button here is volume, and this took me a little bit to figure out. If you want to just mute all volume, you think you have to spin, but you don't. You press it down, and when you do, you've then muted the volume, which is very nice. Now I want to talk about the maps. I've done electric vehicle road tripping with Google Auto embedded in a car on the Volvo XC40 Recharge. And if you look at these state of charges right here, that math in order to obtain that number is complicated because it has to do with the weight of the car, it has to do with the drag coefficient, it has to do with elevation gains or decreases as a result of regen or additional energy to go uphill. So it's actually a complicated thing to do. And most in-dash navigation systems, they call them guessometers or GOM for short, do not do this calculation very well. In my opinion, the Google embedded navigation in EVs is the best. I've found that this number I can rely on when I'm doing an EV road trip, which is important. Also, if it's a nice day and I kill the environments, all of a sudden you'll see this number change. That's how good it is. It's looking at how many kilowatts your car is currently consuming, including environment. And so if you turn off environment, it'll adjust for that. It also knows if your destination is further uphill than where you currently are, and it factors in the weight of the car for that. So very good. I would not trust the in-dash options for DC fast charging, and there's kind of a long story about why that's the case. DC fast charging right now is pretty unreliable. Now, we're told that Tesla supercharger networks are going to be made open to us in the spring of 2023, so if that happens, that might be pretty cool and might change things. And also the Ultium Charge 360 at Pilot Flying J locations are supposed to be coming online here, and those two might be a game changer. But until then, always make sure you have a backup plan for a road trip charging stop. If the place you get to is not operational, if it's blocked by an internal combustion engine car called being iced, if the location has a gate that's closed, if the charger is broken, if your credit card swipe won't work, all kinds of things can keep you from being able to charge. So just make sure you always have a backup. Okay, one last thing I want to go over. GM has built into the car multiple ways of adjusting the regenerative braking. Sometimes this is known as one-pedal driving. If you look on the steering wheel right here, there's a pedal to control it. And then if you go into the vehicle drive mode, there's another setting here for one-pedal driving. And if you go into, where is it? Controls, drive and park, also here. Now, I've been driving an EV for more than 2 years. GM is making this way too convenient. Personally, I don't think this feature should even exist. If you bought an electric vehicle, you should put on your big boy or big girl pants and drive one pedal. Turning off one pedal driving in an electric vehicle just doesn't make any sense. It's there for someone who's familiar with an internal combustion engine car in order to have a familiarity with the drive process. One pedal driving is the same thing you did when you learned how to drive on a golf cart, as your dad was probably driving you around the golf course. He said, "Here, drive the golf cart." And you take your foot off the gas and the golf cart slows down. Exact same thing. Those were electric. The Cadillac Lyriq is electric. All other EVs have one pedal driving. You should do it too. So do yourself a favor. Don't go off with one pedal driving. Don't turn it off on the paddle here on the driver, on the steering wheel, on or high. Time to drive EV. Do yourself a favor, trust me. Anyway, that's all I have for the review. I hope you enjoyed. Hope this last bit wasn't too critical. I do think it is in your best interest to drive one pedal for the regenerative effect into the battery pack, and it also helps the wear and tear on the graphite disc pads, brake pads inside the calipers for your brakes. They won't wear down if you go one pedal driving. It'll take years for you to wear down your brake pads. Anyway, best wishes. Hope this was a helpful video for you.